Hey everyone, this is Olay from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast.
Another great opportunity to learn something new. We're going to be talking about vision. We're going to make it applicable, hopefully engaging, something that we're dealing with as kids, young people that we're dealing with in our lives every day. So happy to be here. I hope you're having a great Sunday. Festus, how you doing today, man?
Man, it's exciting, man. It's exciting, and so I had some good conversations this morning, and I'm a little tired, man. You know, we got that heavy rain last night. Some crazy stuff happened over here. We had some water come in the house, and so
oh no,
yeah, man, that was crazy. But you know, God is good, and so I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. Absolutely, yes, absolutely, man. That rain was definitely crazy. You know, I've got to get better at being an adult. See, I'm an adult, and we still have to work on being an adult because it looked like it was going to rain, but I don't make a habit of like checking the forecast. You know, a lot of people have that ritual where they just go cut on the TV, channel 2, channel 11, channel 13, 26, whatever, and they get the forecast. If I don't check it on my phone, which I rarely do, I used to do what I did in college, where I take the back of my hand and put it on the glass on the window.
Yeah.
I'm like,
how does it feel outside?
Go up my way. But I was talking to my neighbor, she was like, where you going? I was like, I'm just gonna go, up the street to go do something. She was like, hurry back. They said it's gonna come down bad. And I'm like, okay, cool. Man, I get out there. It's looking like Noah's Ark out there.
Yeah, man.
And I make it back. And then I totally forgot there were football games. So I was watching the football games. And Channel 13, they kept coming in. They kept breaking in during the game.
Man. Yeah.
And ever since Harvey, I'm like, look, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
You can, look, I'm here. All right. Look, the safety of people is what is important. I'll never forget Harvey. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's still in my head, Tim Heller, because it was a Saints-Texans preseason game.
Wow. And
Tim Heller and I've never seen Tim Heller look the way he looked.
Wow.
He was like, I came. He was like, "Yo, this is if you were on the road, go in anywhere right now." Like he was like, "No, I'm not joking. Like we have a unprecedented, historic amount of rain that's coming on, right? Like that's pouring down right now." I was just like,
once in 500-year hurricane. Yeah,
once in 5 years.
It was crazy because it was that almost 3 straight days of rain, and so
yeah,
man, it's tough stuff.
Yeah, man, yeah. But you know, the beautiful thing about that and people is we come together, we find a way to get through that. And especially in Houston, man, we just do such a wonderful job of being able to persevere. And and it's so funny, we talk about that in schools and stuff. They always use those words. And it's like, I always tell my students, it's like, we use these words, but do we really understand or are we able to actually take the concept and say, how can I apply this to my life to persevere? And I think that's what we do at LYS. That's what we've been doing. That's what we do in our personal lives is the will, right, to not give up, especially when times are challenging, times are tough, not giving up. It's almost similar to it almost works the way courage works. We were talking about that with our boys at the school in our boys group. And we were saying courage is the ability to stand up even though you're scared. You're scared. Like you have fear about a certain issue, but you still fight that urge or that fear. You still fight it and you still say, I'm going to do whatever this is. I remember reading something and it said in every great movement, the person who starts the movement is not the key person. The person who starts the movement is not the first person, is not the key person. The key person is actually the second person, because the person who started it was already like, hey, they're already seen as a crazy person. They're like, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. That first person that looks and is like, yo, he or she's making sense. Like that makes sense. And it's like, I'm gonna go join you and be crazy too. That's when it's like, oh snap. The leader is like, oh snap, I got somebody. And the second person's like, I'm here. And then before you know, everyone starts looking like, what them two doing? You know what I mean? Because anyone can go out and do something and be like, this is what it is. But once that first person comes in, it's like, I like what you're doing. I'm going to do it with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy how it starts to roll, man.
And it's amazing because what that means is that person has seen the vision and bought into the vision. And that's something that I was having an earlier conversation about, is that vision is not just what your eyes see. It is literally the picture that your mind creates about the future. And so what ends up happening is that when you have a vision and you're going after somebody or something, and somebody else sees that, it becomes contagious, especially if it's something that's transformative. And so, I know you're about to hop on it, so go right ahead and get into it.
All right, wonderful, exactly, Festus. Real quick, what I want to do before we get started is we've been talking about this. Some of the tests that you can take in the course of laddering your success, finding your purpose, finding your own vision for your life. There are some really cool tests right here on this screen that's being shared. This is the University of Cambridge Psychometric Center. And what they have is like a plethora of tests. I mean, if you can take a look here, we've got, let me see if this thing will let me annotate. All right, it should let me annotate. You've got personality, airline pilot test. I don't know who out there is trying to be an airline pilot, but if you're trying to be an airline pilot, they've got the ability for you to do that there. My IQ intelligence test. Now, what happens is it has an approximate amount of time that it'll take for you to do them, but all of those things are there. Let's keep going down. Quality of life CAT, computer adaptive quality of life assessment based on WHO, QOL items. I'm sure you can do a quick Google search to see what that is. Entrepreneurial personality scale, right? How entrepreneurial are you?
Hey, bro, drop that one in the chat so I can get to that link. So I can get to that link. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you'll drop the whole entire thing in the chat, that way we could put it in the show notes later and people can have access to that. But I definitely want that one right there, because I need to see if I'm really cut out to be an entrepreneur. But go ahead.
Well, no, you brought up like the most beautiful point about this. I'm looking at this. Look at this. What is your team role, creative potential, leadership styles, satisfaction with life, Schwartz portrait values? You can measure goals, aspirations, and wishes that drive behavior. I mean, it keeps going. I went too fast. Passion towards work, numerical sequences.
You out here giving out the fire.
Hey man, that's LYS. If we got, how could we? This stuff is too important. It's too deep to keep it within ourselves. It's too amazing. And the world needs these young people to take this information and just regurgitate nothing but amazing stuff. And so, I mean, and if you don't like taking some of these things, it's okay. Some of these are 2 minutes. Because I know if you're like me, you can easily lose interest in some things. You're like 5 questions in, you're like, when is this over? 200 questions. Oh no. So they have plenty of things here. I mean, it keeps going. Mental rotation. I was thinking about doing a couple of these after the call, actually. And you actually mentioned something, Festus. You said send that link. I want to take a look at the entrepreneurial test. The beautiful thing about these things is self-discovery, right? Finding out things about yourself. And I'm going to say that with a caveat. Make sure that when you're doing these tests, be as honest as possible. Be as honest as possible. No one's going to hold you to it. No one should, or no one will hold you to a higher standard than yourself. And that's one of the things we're going to put.
No, you brought up a very key thing that ties, I think, in the vision and the values and the being aspect. But if you're not honest with you, you can't expect anybody else to be honest with you. And now you're tangled and living in a world of lies, right? And so the thing is, you have to be honest with yourself. It's called view yourself with sober judgment, right? And what does sober mean? It doesn't mean the don't get intoxicated part, but it's kind of almost saying, don't let all these things cloud your ability to see yourself as you are. And then that way you can look at yourself rather than too high or too low. You look at yourself exactly where you're at and you say, hey, look, man, I think it helps you not become judgmental of other people in terms of a negative sense, because there's a lot of people right now who say they're not judgmental and are straight up lying. Like, I'll tell you, I'm judgmental. At least I know what I'm judging based off of, right? So that's the way that I look at things. Hey, look, at least you know I'm gonna judge you based off some scripture, I'm gonna judge you based off some life experience, and I'm gonna judge you based off some logic. Okay, that's Festus. It's pretty simple, right? And it's like, okay, you don't believe in scripture, cool. Then I know you ain't going that way, cool. But everything else, I mean, logic and reason is fair game, right? And if you're just doing stuff that's just dumb, then hey, look, you know, we used to call it when we were growing up, Olay and I, crash test dummy. Like, hey, look, I'm not about to be no crash test dummy and go out here and, you know, just, you know what a crash test dummy is. You're in a car and just bow, and you know, for what? You know, I'm not about to go do all that with you. You know, you could go do it yourself, and I'll watch and get some popcorn. You know, this is
that's what we used to say. We used to say, you gonna do it, and if you come back, I'll come, but I'll take a look. I'll go do it. I'll go do it with you. But that's the key right there, right? If you're honest with yourself and you look at yourself soberly, and HDI, I believe I call it HDI. It's one of the themes we talk here at LYS: humility, discipline, and integrity. That's mainly humility, thinking of yourself soberly, right? I like to also think of it as you not thinking of yourself above or below anyone else, right? You're just on par with everyone else. If you're honest with yourself when you're doing things like this, and you see things that you would like to work on, you see, if you're honest, first of all, you're going to actually see those things when they come out. Then you have an opportunity, right, to work on those things and fix those things to become a better person. The person that you are right now is not who you're going to be 5 years from now. And we are always constantly searching and looking for things to make us better people, okay? One of the most important things you can do is you can just simply be honest with yourself. And you will notice during that process, you will naturally humble yourself when you realize how imperfect you are. In the last 2 years, I have realized so much more how not perfect I am. And in that process, you start to work on things to make you a better person. And so these things that we're talking about, we're not just spewing it out, right? It's things that we've actually talked about.
And I just want to kind of tag onto that a little bit. If you think about yourself as perfect, do you know how big of a burden that is? That's a very big burden. And so when we talk about like social media and people having anxiety and stress related to social media and being on social media, especially Gen Zers, you know what I mean? Like us millennials, you know, we're millennials. We're kind of in the upper bracket of millennials, but we're millennials, right? We grew up at a time where there was no internet. So the comparison game was not the same as it is now, right? So now you got 17, 18, 19-year-olds, you know, who are struggling with their self-perception and self-image, because they're looking at these perfectly curated photos of all these other people and all the stuff that they've said they've done. No, they're just showing their highlights. And half of the time, it's not even their highlights. Like I you know, one of the things I love that's so funny is that there was a guy who was getting gas, and he was getting gas in his, I think it was either Bentley or something like that. And then some dude was like, yo, let me come take a picture on the front, you know? And it's like, wait a second, you're at a gas station taking a picture of someone else's vehicle. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. The question, in my opinion, now this is just me, if I'm humble, right? Instead of me trying to stunt, I would have said, hey, what do you do that helped you get the Bentley? Rather than just taking a picture with the Bentley. But see, that's how you look at yourself with sober judgment. But I just want to throw that out there. Olay, back to you.
Oh, no worries, absolutely. You know, we're going to talk about that a little bit too. There's actually a TikTok personality who does exactly that. I don't know if I think it's one of those things where he kind of like talks to him before, but some people he may just come up randomly. You'll see people in a McLaren, a Lotus, a Ferrari.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and he'll ask them. So that's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue on our discussion of vision. We're going to keep talking about vision, and we're going to start talking about now creating a plan towards finding our vision. Okay. I want to make sure this is big enough so everyone can see it. Give me 1 second here. Perfect. All right. So in order to achieve success, you must define it. In order to achieve success, you got to define it. All right. If you don't define success, how are you ever going to know if you've achieved it? Definitions, they bring objectivity and authenticity. You need to have both to have real success. Okay. An easy way to define your success is to have someone else define it for you, which is something that happens to a lot of us, especially a lot of young people early on. We look at other people and we say, that's what I want. You see your favorite sports star, your favorite personality, someone on TV, someone in a magazine, someone, wherever. And because of certain images, you think that's it. That is success, right? If you do that, it's going to be their success and not yours. In order to define success for yourself, it would be best to find some signs or symbols of what your success looks like. Is it a Mercedes-Benz? Is it a certain neighborhood? I know growing up, man, Festus, right after high school, man, when I discovered River Oaks.
Oh yeah.
Remember Taco Milagro?
Oh yeah. You going back there. You going back there, man.
It was so fascinating for us. We grew up in the southwest side of Houston, A-Leaf, Texas, and
SWAT up.
And we and River Oaks, you get on 59, 610, that's about a 15, 20-minute drive. $1 million houses. Fancy restaurants, design shops, all these things. And we were so stuck in that mindset of just A-Leaf. We didn't realize how big the world was. How big, not even just how big our immediate city was, right? So you got to ask yourself, is it a Mercedes-Benz? Is it a neighborhood name? Is it a job title? Now ask yourself, if you had all these things and you lost them, never to have them again, what would that version of success look like now? You don't have that car. You're not living in that neighborhood. You don't have that job title. What is success now? Okay. Really quickly, I want to share my screen again, and I want to show y'all, not this right here. I just wanted to take a look here. We were talking about who you getting your vision from, right? I went here and this is just a Wikipedia page, and I just did a quick search for most followed TikTok accounts, right? Why TikTok? Well, just based off of everything that we know, the people that we are trying to reach, right? You guys, this is where a lot of you get your information from. And I'm pretty sure that if these numbers are pretty much, they're very close to what it would be on maybe Instagram or Snap, right? So we're looking and I see Charlie, the Amelio, right? Kaby Lame, and I know my kids love doing the Cobain hands. And I do it too.
Oh, that's the it's easy. It's okay.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
And the thing that I found very interesting about this is there was one word that just kept coming out. And it's personality. Personality.
Okay.
Personality. Think I'm done? Let's go down. Personality. Singer, songwriter, dancer, actor, former wrestler, personality. So if you continuously follow all these different persons who are working in their own purpose and vision, you're going to take from them, when inside of you, you've got the stuff to be right here. Just, it's inside of you. Whatever your thing is.
Talk that talk.
That's your thing that puts you here. But if you spend your time watching The Rock, Jason Derulo, Chris Collins, Brent Rivera, Jojo Siwa, all these folks, hey, nothing's wrong with what, no, no disrespect to them. I cherish what they're doing. They're working in their purpose. They're living out their dreams. It's amazing. But you can do that too. You got some stuff that makes you a star too. I don't know if anyone's told you that. You got some stuff that can make you that makes you a star. Please believe that. If no one's ever told you, please hear our voices today. It's inside of you, just like it's inside of them. They are no different than you. They woke up with 2 feet, got out of bed in the morning just like you did. Okay. So I wanted to show that. And I also wanted to show this because a lot of times we look and we see what those folks are doing, right? We're like, man, that looks so awesome. That looks so cool. She lives here. He drives this. They're hitting this place. They're drinking that cool thing. Oh my gosh, all this stuff is awesome. But and some of these folks do a really good job of showing you that it's more than what it is. It's more than what it looks like. We do a lot more than this. This is a really awesome website that I saw. It's basically, and we've used this in the past. It's the schedules of 20 famous people, past and present, right? And let's just take a look. You got Donald Trump, Ben Franklin, and it basically gives their schedule of what they do throughout the day, right? So let's take a look at Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin gets up at 4 a.m, wakes up, wash, breakfast. 5 o'clock, prepare for the day. 8 o'clock, work. From 8 to 12, work, right? 12 o'clock, read while eating lunch. 12 to 2, work. From 2 to 6, work. At 6 o'clock, think about what good have I done today, right? At 6:30, relax and recreate. 9 o'clock, sleep. What do you think he does the next day? The same thing.
Well, I'm tired looking at that schedule.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? One of the things I heard recently that kind of struck a chord with me was, if you don't have a routine, things are going to be very hard for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Setting a routine is one of those things that is going to keep you like on point. It's going to keep you on schedule, right? It's like, oh, it's this time, this is what I got to do. It's this time, this is what I got to do. All right. So if you don't have one, it's just as easy as getting a sheet of paper, writing it out. Okay.
Olay, if I may for a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know, me going into the military, that's one thing that I noticed was that they gave out this, they basically gave out the schedule of what to do. And so we called it your hit times, right? So at certain times, you got to be a certain place. So the thing is, they say in the military, if you do 3 things, you'll never be wrong. Be in the right place at the right time in the right uniform, right? So those are the 3 things. And the thing that came over, to civilian life was, on a military base, it's literally its own self-contained city. So you can really you knew what was happening at almost all times in certain places because we actually have a horn that plays at certain times. So if you heard that, you knew what time it was, right? So you didn't even really need a clock. You'd hear the bugle horn playing, and it's just, and so anyway, you were going to hear that. Usually you were already standing outside by the time you heard that. If you woke up to that noise, you were late already, okay? Because that would usually go off about 5 a.m., right? Is when they call it revelry and retreat. And so that usually starts about 5 a.m., right? And so if you heard that, you're already running late. You're already running behind. And so, and sometimes it's 6, you'd hear it 6 o'clock too, but they would play small portions of it throughout the day. And so sometimes, most military guys always had a digital watch, made sure it was on point. But yeah, you just hear that throughout the day. And so yeah, but take that discipline. That discipline is key, right? And so this is where having your own vision and having your own purpose create the schedule for you. So if you want to do something big that takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, then you're going to have to schedule that. You're going to have to schedule that out. And so that's why having that schedule is so important. So Olay, back to you.
So absolutely. I know you remember Festus on our presentation, the LYS presentation, Leo Babauta, I think it's Babauta, the guy who wrote Zen Habits. I remember when we first looked over what he did in a day, I said, this guy does more by 8 or 9 than I do the entire day, because he would wake up, drink water, meditate, shower, make breakfast for his wife and kids, wake up his wife and kids. And he would do all of that like by 9 in the morning. And I was like, man, this guy out here making me look like a snail, But it's just one of those things. It's a habit. The beautiful thing about habits is they're easy to catch on, for good and bad, right? For good and bad. But if you can get those good habits and get that pattern going, you're going to see the benefit. All right. And I also, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely. And I was going to just welcome in Amiya. Amiya, thank you so much for joining us. If you guys ever want to join us, like Amiya here, you can simply reach out on any of our social media channels. We'll get you a link, or you could go on Eventbrite and you could go ahead and sign up on Eventbrite. And then we're going to send you a link to the Zoom. So you could be here live with us and ask us questions, and you can get some feedback going back and forth. Amaya's been here a couple times. She's already saved like $41,000. That's why she keep coming back. She's like, yo, it's like getting, she's like, it's almost like getting paid to be here, right? So if you want to say something, feel free to say something. If you don't, you're good. But yeah, go ahead, Olay.
Hey, I really quick, I just want to say, hey, good afternoon, Amiya. How you doing? Oh no, she's probably.
You're muted, Amiya. If you don't, you're muted.
But I was gonna say she's kind of like our third. Her and Daniel were kind of like our third and our fourth host as we're going over these things. So it is really fun to be able to go in with it. Absolutely, yeah. Real quick, I just wanted to talk about this. Right, this is Kim Kardashian. A lot of followers. A lot of people love following Kim Kardashian. Has habits that she gets go through. Has a word just left my head. Schedule, right? She's got a schedule that she follows. 6 a.m. wake up. 6:15 a.m. run workout. 8 a.m. wake up the baby, eat breakfast. 12 p.m. when we're not filming, I'll have 1 or 2 meetings a day, usually starting at noon. 2 p.m. talking to family, meetings, daily events. 9 p.m. in bed, catching up on emails and other business. It's a pattern. It's a routine, right? It's tried and tested and it's true, right? So let's continue on. Based off of what we talked about so far, you're probably gonna, now you know those two extremes of success, all right? Your real success is probably gonna lie somewhere in between those two things. Probably your version of success that didn't have those signs and those symbols, they probably dealt more with the kind of person you want to be. I'm gonna say that one more time. If we guess right, your version of success that didn't have the signs or the symbols probably dealt more with the kind of person that you want to be. It probably dealt more with how people look at you, because real success requires us to do more for others than ourselves. I'm gonna say that one more time. Real success requires us to do more for others than for ourselves.
Talk that talk.
So one of the things you have to think about, here's the beautiful thing about life. The beautiful thing about life is that people take things that work well for them and then they tell the next generation, right? They tell their children, they tell the next generation. It's so amazing because I have students from South America, Mexico, all over the world. And we'll go over things that their parents tell them. And the things that their parents tell them are exactly the same things that my parents tell me. So what does that tell me? The same things that my parents told me are the same things that their parents told them, and then on and on and on for, however many generations. So it does not matter where you are. There are certain principles that will always remain true. They applied in the past, they apply right now, and they will apply in the future. So think about this, because this is one of the most important things ever. Real success requires us to do more for others than for ourselves, okay? That takes character, right? This is a really good time to introduce key principle number 1, right? We're going to talk about these because in LYS, in the book, there are certain key principles that we like to talk about, right? And a key principle is exactly what it is. It's not a principle. It's not the principle of the school, but it is a principle. It's a guiding rule to follow, okay? And the key principle number 1 is don't knock what you don't know. Key principle number 1, don't knock what you don't know. Actually, let me say it one more time, and I'm going to say it to the 17-year-old me. Don't knock what you don't know. Okay? This means you shouldn't oversimplify things. Look down on people. We just talked about that. Or get ahead of yourself by being a self-proclaimed know-it-all. You think you know it all, right? Don't get ahead of yourself by thinking you know it all. I know at this point in time in history, we have access to more information now than at any point in history, probably, right? But that doesn't mean you know it all. Okay? You gotta think about that HDI: humility, discipline, integrity. Okay? Don't knock what you don't know. All right. And real quick, what I wanted to
you're going in. Hey, bro, I'm sorry. You got me to read the Ladder of Success book. I'm like, man, I gotta learn this. even though I wrote it, I'm like, man, it's so rich in here. But anybody who has, where's the book? How do I get the book? Go to ladderingyoursuccess.com/students. You could find a book there. You can find a link to it. You can get it on Amazon. Just Google search Laddering Success. Olay, you're doing a phenomenal job, man. I'm blown away. I'm learning.
Man, I'm glad, man. So let's take a look here. And when we were talking about earlier, the two extremes of success. For a lot of people, this is success, right? Super beautiful house, and I get it. I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to have a super beautiful house. Absolutely, it's wonderful. Exotic cars, right? This is what success means. And for a lot of us, this is what we see. I typed in exotic cars, and for some reason, it brought in cats. I don't know.
Cats. I was gonna say.
Shout out.
It's being a cat lady and having a bunch of cats around.
Shout out to Pixabay. And a lot of times we see this. Right? I don't know if you know this, but putting your hands up like a Y, like in YMCA, like this young lady and this young man right here, that's like one of the most like universal signs of success, of winning, right? Joy, it's just that exuberance, joy, exuberance, right? And so that's what we're saying. Your version of success is somewhere in between there, right? It's somewhere in between there. And so you have to find that out for yourself, okay? And so one of the things that we have is, it's an activity in the book, right? So we're gonna start this off with key principle number 1, don't knock what you don't know, right? Don't knock what you don't know. Let me read about that one more time. Don't oversimplify things. Don't oversimplify things. My students do this all the time. I tell them they're overthinking. They're overthinking. Take what's being given to you, ask the questions that pertain to whatever is being given to you. Don't try to make too much of it, right? Don't look down on people. That's one of the main, that's HDI, that's humility. That's humility. Out of humility, discipline, and integrity. Think of yourself sober-mindedly. Think of yourself sober-mindedly. Be humble. What does it mean to think of yourself sober-mindedly? Don't think of yourself higher. Don't think of yourself lower. Think of yourself as who you are. Don't value yourself more than anyone. Don't value yourself less than anyone. Okay? Don't get ahead of yourself by being a self-proclaimed know-it-all. This used to be my issue. This used to be a big issue with me, thinking that I knew all the answers. You couldn't tell me nothing. Super stubborn. I thought I had all the answers. Little did I know how little I knew. Okay.
I'm gonna have to get one of those organ sounds. No, I'm sorry. I know we be cracking up, y'all. I know. I'm sorry.
But that's the fun thing. That's the fun part about LYS is when you are working in what you love and what you're supposed to do, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be like, oh, we gotta do it. It's supposed to be fun, right? And so that right there, like, it shows that we're living out what we're talking about, right? So take a look here. We've got a little fill in the blank thing for you to do with yourself, right? I want to be blank or work in blank field or work in the blank field. 2, I will be blank by either doing, being, working with blank, right? When I have done this, I will check to make sure I am on the right track. I will be mentored by blank. This could be a person who's helping you out, right? Someone who you trust, someone who is very consistent. Consistent means every time you call them or her, they pick up. Every time you give them advice, it's solid. It's based off of something that has a strong foundation, right? Being mentored by blank, so they will guide me to being better at doing blank. Now look at these next two. I am giving back to my mentor by blank. I will pay it forward by helping or giving or donating blank, right? So let's give an exemplar. Let's give an example of what this means. Before we do that, if you filled in those blanks, you should have a definition of success by first identifying what field or occupation you want to work in. Secondly, you should have hypothesized what it takes to get. Thirdly, you should have a checkpoint to make sure you are on track. Fourth, you will have a definite person who will help educate you in the day-to-day growth of your success. And finally, you will have a definite way of giving back to the person who has given back to you. I got to read that again. That's fire right there. 5 minutes of fire. See, we talked about it before. And so I wanted to bring it back, right? Remember, one of the things I said a couple minutes earlier was real success requires us to do more for others than for ourselves. If you're trying to get somewhere and there's someone who can help you get there and they give to you to help you get there, do you see how it kind of fulfills this cycle, this circle, right? They're giving to you, and so you can get to where you need to go.
So
right?
Olay, man, you are crushing it and killing it, and I'm loving it. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, wow, I'm really taken back. And so I just want to add in a little bit on this concept of why it's so important to have people who are in proximity to us, who are in our community, that we can give back to for helping us out, but then also people that we can give toward so that they can have a future as well. And why is that? Because there's a principle called the law of reciprocity, right? If you've ever noticed during Christmas, Christmas just passed, you get gifts, right? And do you ever notice what happens when you get a gift, but you didn't get a gift for that other person? They gave you a gift, but you didn't get a gift for that person. Automatically, in 80-90% of cases, you feel a little guilty, right? Like, oh man, regardless of what they gave you, it could be like the smallest thing, and they're like, hey, here, Merry Christmas, here's a card. And you're like, oh, I didn't get you a card. Why did you say that? Because the law of reciprocity went into effect right at that moment where you felt I needed to do for that person at least what they've done to me. And so this law of reciprocity is actually becomes what's called an economic principle. I'm not gonna get too far out there, but Olay, you're bringing it out of me every time I get out. You try to pull me back. But so anyway, so this law of reciprocity, as it goes into effect, if you're not cognizant of it, right, what ends up happening is mentally and emotionally you start building up debts to others, right? Because you're kind of taking advantage of them. And so, especially growing up the way that I grew up, we didn't have a lot. And so we felt like we couldn't give, right? And especially we thought about it in a financial sense. But really, you could give time to somebody. I know this, at least for me, for some of the people that I've seen that are, and here comes the kids. My kids are running around, so they're going to cut in and out on this. But one thing I've seen for people that are very high level, right, who are functioning, executives and millionaires and people that I've spent time with, sometimes they just want a person who's around, who's honest with them, who doesn't want anything from them, who doesn't have an ulterior motive. So literally that person who could just spend some time with them and eat a hamburger or drink some coffee and just spend some time with them, that's enough for them. Why? Because the thing is, to them, most people are usually coming looking for things from them. And sometimes, especially when it comes to giving back to others, you got to look for people you can give back to that maybe they're not able to give back to you financially, right? Because otherwise it's just an exchange, right? It's just, okay, this is a transaction, we do the transaction and then we're done. And right now there's a lot of people who get into transactional relationships. And we're going to, especially in this portion, and Olay's going to go into this, you'll see why, even when it comes to something as picking a career, going to college, having a vision that is beyond transactional is really important. So Olay, back to you.
Absolutely. Festus. That's wonderful. So let's take a look. And what we have here is we have an example, right? This is just an example of the previous, what we went over here. We have one that's kind of been completed for you. In this example, person says, I want to be a healthcare worker by working with kids. When I enter nursing school, I'm sure I will be on the right track. I will be mentored by Jane Doe, who will be guiding me to be a better nurse. I will give back to my mentor by helping cut their grass. All right, so remember what we talked about. I mean, not everything, even though you're not the mentor, right? You're the apprentice, you can give time. That's energy, right? Cutting the grass. I will pay it forward by volunteering 5 to 10 hours a month at the local shelter. That's the easy way right there to get started. Very simple, very easy way to get started. Okay. So that was just a quick little glimpse, a quick little as to how to set that plan for yourself, right? How to set that plan for yourself. But the last thing I want to talk about, because we're gonna continue this next week. The last thing I want to talk about is, I feel like there may be a lot of you who are like me, where you have a lot of interests, things that you're very passionate about. You could say it's kids and teaching. You could say it's music. You could say it's serving others. You could just keep going. Some of you are very artistic. Some of you are natural leaders. Well, everyone's a leader, right? But some of you just like taking people and moving them and connecting people. And some of you are great at, like I said, several different types of arts. Some of you are great at like looking at just pictures and coming up with wonderful concepts. You're a great listener, so you can understand what people are saying. You're great counselors and all these things. And you're saying, there's so many things I want to do. I don't know how to fill this out. Oh my God, what do I do? Listen to me. I don't want to sound mean when I say this, okay? I'm not trying to be mean. Pick one. Just pick one. Just pick one and go with it. Whichever one you feel like picking. You're good at all these things. You're gonna have to learn how to be good at picking now. All right. So pick one and just go with it. And go with it. Okay. As you're going, if you don't like it, guess what? You got another one to fall back on that you can work on, right? But you want to at least pick one and go. That's good. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and 100%, you're spot on that, is picking one. But you could also give yourself a time frame, right, to pick one. And so anybody who hasn't heard of SMART goal setting, you can use SMART goal setting and just give yourself a time frame. Well, I'm going to do this for 6 months. I'm going to do this for 8 months. I'm going to do this right after I graduate high school. I'm going to do this during the summer. So you can give yourself a time frame so you can start to hone that down and then do that reflection. Also, before we continue on, I want to say thank you to Cannon and Daniel for joining us as well. We guys see you, and we see you, and we would love to get your questions here once Olay finishes up. We could take any questions that you guys and girls might have. I'm not sure, but have any questions. So Olay, turn that back over to you.
Yeah. So that was pretty much it, folks. Went more into vision. We talked about the most followed people on TikTok. Look for that pattern. So much of what we're looking for now is personality. We're looking at personality, which is great, but you got to find those things inside of you to bring that gift forward, your talent, your skill, your ability forward, so you can make the world a better place by naturally using your gift. All right. That's what we're doing right now. If there's one thing you take from this, do more for others than for yourself. That law of reciprocity that Festus talked about is so powerful. And it's one of those things where people say, how do you know it works? You don't know rain's coming till it comes, right? It's one of those things where you give to people and you plant a seed in people's mind, right? And that seed that's planted in their mind just helps them give to other people. And it just creates the cycle. And if you don't believe me, the best way to test a theory or a law or a principle is to try it yourself, because no one can test it better than yourself to confirm for yourself whether or not it works or not. I can say it as many times as I want, but if you don't experience for yourself, I understand if you don't believe it, but I wholeheartedly will trust that it will work when you do that. Don't knock what you don't know. Do more for others than for yourself. Okay, folks, that's the gist of our lesson today. We're going to continue on that. We're going to continue on that path. We're going to keep going there. That vision thing is a really strong one. So we're going to talk about that. That's a foundational aspect of what we're doing. So we're gonna stay on that for a while. Okay, we're hopefully gonna find some cool, fun things to do. Hopefully, maybe get a couple more people here, make it a little bit more fun. Okay.
Yeah. With that being said, Cannon, Daniel, if you guys have any questions, and Ken, we haven't met before. Thank you for joining us. I don't want to, misgender you or anything like that, right? I don't, because we never met you, and then your face is not here, so I don't know. So, but thank you for joining us. So Daniel, I think you unmuted. You got something?
Yes. Great as always, Doc. Appreciate it. Yeah. So Ken is my other niece. Yeah, Ken's my other niece. She's actually in her 20s, and like I said, Maya is going to start college, and Candace is already in college. I can't remember if is nursing or tech she's doing, but she's trying to work on her vision with that. So you know what I'm saying, and also try and get some money with that. So like saying this right here is a great focus. You know what I'm saying, have a vision set, and then also have ways once she found out what she wanted. I can't remember what she said, but she said, I can't remember if it's tech or nursing, but she can set a vision, and then y'all can help her with finding the money to actually go to school for it and stuff like that. So she can speak.
Yeah, absolutely, Ken. If you want to come on real quick and just kind of introduce yourself, and again, thank you for joining us.
Hello, you guys.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm blessed. How are y'all?
Wonderful. Better than we deserve.
Well, I'm going to school for business, but I'm trying to get my own studio, and I need just the tools to help me and further me on more in life.
Okay, well, definitely thank you for being here. And so if you could specify a little bit, you said get your own studio. What do you mean by your own studio?
I want to teach kids or young adults choreography, and if I can do the talent with modeling too. I haven't found another talent yet.
Okay, so what you're looking at is creating a venue, a space where you can help other people develop their gifts and talents, is what it sounds like. And you want to be on the business side of that. That's why you're going to school for business. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so in the chat, I just put a link to one of our web pages. There's a free ebook that's there. You could just download it straight to your whatever phone or your laptop. And if you want, you could go ahead and order the LYS book. This is a lot more rich and covers exactly what Olay was talking about today. I think if I could just go off the top of my head, because I'm kind of entrepreneur and my thing is always add value to people. And so I personally think there's some things that you can do in the meantime to try to explore your business idea while you're in school, right? Because here's the thing, especially when it comes to business, right? Because you can go to school all you want to for certain things, but it's until you actually try it out, right? And so what I would recommend, what I would kind of encourage you to do is to try to see if you can find a space that you can rent, right? And maybe you've done this before, I don't know, but think about a space that maybe you can rent where you can actually, hey guys, my sons, I'm sorry. Hey buddy, relax. So think about it this way. Maybe you can find a space where you can say, hey, look, I'm going to do choreography on Sundays or on Saturdays at a community venue, and I want people to come out. And maybe you could sell tickets, maybe not. Maybe you could just see, okay, do people come out? And maybe you could start to build that community by being actionable now, and then take those lessons that you learn and then apply them to what you're doing academically, right? And so I just give a little tidbit. The way that I wrote this book was that, in school, they ask you to write essays, right? And so what I would do is any essay that I wrote, it was going to be used for this book. So if it was on human growth or development, or if it was on whatever it was on, I was going to use a piece of it for the book. So I was like, look, I might get an A, I might get B, whatever, but I'm going to use that for what I want to do. And so how many people you know who are authors, right? And so I was able to get that done. And was that encouraging to you? Does that sound like something that you can do?
Yes, sir. And I'm glad you said that again, because somebody did tell me I need to go ahead and start, looking for stuff or getting back into dancing. So if that was another thing, I'm glad you said that. So that very did help me.
Absolutely. And you could start with, I know a lot of football teams have like the cheer teams. So maybe you could go to some of those parents and say, hey, listen, I could give free lessons, even if it's once a month, or I can charge, a minimal amount to where, again, you just want to see if your ideal works. And so there's a guy by the name of Pat Flynn. I love Pat Flynn. I love his work. He has a book called Will It Fly? And it's about, will your idea be a feasible idea, right? Because in what you're trying to do, what you're setting out to accomplish in having a venue, and I want to kind of really break this down and get really specific. If you're talking about owning a venue, right, then you're talking about being in the real estate business. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about a dance school, that doesn't necessarily mean you own a space. Does that make sense? Because if you own a space, that means you have to deal with the maintenance, the upkeep, the taxes, the this, and that's a lot of headache. So maybe you just want to rent a space. You see what I'm saying? So you could do what you do and then go home and be like, look, if the rain came down, the roof fell in, that's none of my business, right? I just have my dance school. I go rent another space. And so these are some things that oftentimes we don't take into consideration when we're starting something. And this is what business school don't tell us. Why? Well, because they want to check, right? So they're like, look, you sit here 4 or 5 more years and maybe I'll kind of drop this tidbit on you. Okay. So if that was helpful, again, we're happy to have you here. We're here 2:00 every Sunday. And so, yeah, thank you.
Thank you again.
Real quick, Cannon, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen here. Hold on. I'm going to share my screen here. Cannon, I was writing as we were talking. So far we got teaching choreography, kids, and possibly modeling, right?
Yes, sir.
Some of the things Festus talked about. Try it out, right? Go to a studio and check it out. There may be a studio or something already in your area that's doing that. Go out there, check it out. Go to a community center, check it out. See if they have any of those opportunities. Also, Festus talked about making life opportunities out of your work. Festus gave the example of whenever he had an assignment for school, it would be about about what he was working with and his purpose, right? So make those life opportunities out of your work. Don't wait, and this is what I was thinking of this in my head as you were talking, as Festus was talking. Don't wait for someone to come and help you.
Right.
Everything you need to accomplish your vision is already inside it. You are built with everything that is needed to finalize that vision. It's inside of you already. It is inside of you already. I put vision story because I had a dream of my classroom, and it was the most amazing classroom ever. There were lights everywhere. There was nothing but student work everywhere. And it was just the most amazing classroom. And I was teaching that classroom. And that is something that has stayed in my mind. I had that dream about 1.5 years ago, and it stays in my mind. It is what I am seeking right now as a teacher. Everything that I do is to get to that point. I don't know what'll happen when I get there. I don't know. But all I know is I had the dream, I saw it, that's the vision, and that's what I'm looking for. And I just know that, all the little moves I make have to get me there, right? So if you're dedicating yourself to it, everything that's you have everything, all the tools required to get to that, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. I wish you the best, and so happy to meet you today. Please keep coming back, and yeah, just wish you the best on that. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, two things. I just dropped our Facebook and our Instagram, so you can follow us there, okay? Because again, you're going to see more and more content coming from us, especially in March. We have, for educators, we have an educator happy hour coming up this January, so it's a little bit over 10, 11 days away. In March, we're going to have our workshop, our scholarship guidance workshop, where we really break down and get into how to get scholarships and what some of the things that I did to personally get over $87,000 worth of scholarships and grants. And so, yeah, so we appreciate you guys who are here with us. If you're listening, if you're watching this on Facebook, usually it's on Facebook, you can join us too. Just hit us up on Eventbrite, right? And then, as I like to always say, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. And so with that, turn it over to you, Olay.
Wonderful way to end the Festus. It's been an honor again doing this free student mentoring. Looking forward to it. Hope you learned something great. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep this momentum going. We're going to keep it going strong. I'll see you guys next week.
Oh, you're still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS podcast.